Welcome to episode 4 of our 1905 Cottage. This is an ongoing series of episodes where my wife Barbara and I will be restoring this diamond in the rough beauty behind us. Now, we know it's going to take a long time, probably 2 to 3 years, and we also know there's a lot of inherent problems. We have electrical problems, we have plumbing problems, we have insulation problems, and there's a myriad of other problems yet to be discovered. But it's a love affair, and we can't wait to do each episode. It is just an amazing home. It's our 1905 cottage, and it is a cottage. It was built as a cottage. It wasn't built as a house. And so for many years, people just kind of did the weekend warrior thing. Okay, I'm with the ace, I'm telling you, plumber, master plumber, Scott Guilfoyle, and he's been doing all the work on our 1905 cottage. And one of the biggest problems we have is behind us. This is the world's smallest bathroom. And Scott has come up with some ingenious ideas as to how to make it right, unclutter it, and so on and so forth. So, Scott, what are some of the things that we're doing?
We're ripping out all the water lines and redoing them properly, and the drain and vents.
Yep, see, man of few words, but that's exactly what we're doing. So my wife wants it to look pretty. So in order to make it look pretty, we actually have to put a new floor in. We have to level the floor. We have to put a new sink in, and we're going to put a heater in it, and then we're going to disguise a lot of the plumbing by putting it behind the toilet to a certain degree. So all that has to be done in a matter of minutes because we have to get water running pretty soon, right?
That's right.
As mentioned, this is the world's smallest bathroom. Maybe it's 8 feet long by possibly 4 feet wide, something like that. But Scott's going to be reworking things. We have a really cool sink that's going to come in here. He's going to rework the drain line, the water lines, and that gizmo, as you're looking at right now, that is the gas meter, and he's going to hide that in the back of the toilet. And then we're going to sheetrock this and straighten the floor out and put some new wall board up here, and it's going to look very pretty when it's done. So stay with us, folks. Scott's just finishing up the drain for the sink, and he could tell he had to make a lot of maneuvers here from a joint point of view. But it looks pretty good. The idea is to come straight up under the sink, and he's making it happen. What I'm doing is I insulated the little bathroom, and now I'm going to be putting what they call sheetrock up, which is this board here. It's called, this is actually the plaster wall. These are my measurements, and if I did things correctly, this layout on the sheetrock should be perfect. It should just pop into place. What this is here, this rectangle, is the vent for the toilet, and this is the waste pipe, and this is the hot and cold water. So you have to measure and make sure that all these things are correct so this thing can just pop right in. Well, good morning. It's about 4:15, something like that, a.m. I couldn't sleep, so I decided to get up and tackle more of our little bathroom off the kitchen. And what I'm doing right now, I'm putting a beadboard on the wall because the plumber is going to be showing up later this morning to set the sink and to set the toilet as well. So I've got to get those projects done. And one of the things I'm facing right now is some of the old, I guess, electrical work. I'm using that word kindly because a lot of this house was built by weekend warriors, and you never know what they did. Well, this is a light fixture they had screwed in the ceiling. It's a plug-in. It doesn't work. So I took it down, and I'm left with the old socket that's still in the wall. So I have to work around that somehow with my beadboard until the electrician shows up and he can rewire that whole wall. So that's just one of the problems that is inherent, if you will, in dealing with old homes. Well, this is where that wall plug was attached to the ceiling, and then it ran down and plugged into this old plug that you see here. And I want that completely disconnected. But what the electrician will do when he shows up, he'll run a wire from that down to our new plug that we've installed here. So To continue on with my project, I'm going to run my beadboard up to the bottom of that old plug, and then I'm going to put a short piece from that to the ceiling, and then I can continue on with my project. This is the beadboard that I'm using for this project. It's 4 inches wide, and it comes at 8-foot length, so you cut it to length. And in my case, every one of these cuts is a custom cut. You'll notice it for the slant of the ceiling, that's a cut. And down here is an example. I had to work around the plug, that's a cut. And this is the vent for the sink, and that's a cut. So throughout this entire job, and there's also ones down here you can't see, like the hot and cold water and the waistline. So as we go along, we're going to be customizing every one of these. But the thing is, when it's done, it's absolutely fantastic because it replicates a lot of the beadboard that we have throughout this house. Now you can stain it, you can paint it, you can varnish it, you can do anything you want with it. And in this case, we're going to be painting it. You know, when you work on old houses, it's amazing what you find. Here's an example. This is the small bathroom that's just off the kitchen. I'm actually putting beadboard up. Prior to that, they needed to fill a hole. So they took a paper bag, they scotch taped it to the wall to cover the hole, and then they painted it. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Okay, the next thing on my list is to repair the floor here. This is where Scott had to take out some old planking in order to get access to the water line down there and to insulate it. So that's the next thing I have to do. In here, there is a tremendous amount of customizations that we've done within the last week and a half, if you will. One of them is this. There's a hole behind here, and in the hole is the gas line that comes into the house. So it runs in this direction towards the stove, and then it goes into the fireplace and so on and so forth. Well, we needed to cover this hole, if you will. So I came up with this idea of customizing a door with the same beadboard, and then it's going to snap in place, and then Barbara can hang a picture over this and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is the door snapped in place. Now below this is a tremendous amount of customization that had to be done by Scott Guilfoyle, our plumber. I just made this. This is a panel that's going to slide behind the toilet, and it's going to hide all the water lines that are coming into the home. It has two kind of odd slots here. This one is for the main turn-off valve, and this one is has a pipe sticking out that's going to connect to the toilet. So again, it's going to hide all of that works, if you will, in the back. Now I made this door with these two magnets up on top, as you can see these, and the install is extremely easy. It just slides down over the two pipes, and the magnets snap in. That's it. So it was a good solution for a difficult situation that isn't the norm, if you will, but everything about our home is custom, custom, custom. The next step is it's a tedious job, but you want to go along and you want to tap in all the little finishing nail heads that are still popping up. If you don't do that, like that, and then hit it with a little sandpaper, when you paint, all those little nail heads will show and it'll look horrible. Barbara's got amazing colors she wants to have for this bathroom, so we're going to put 2 coats of really premium paint on that. So you don't want to miss that. You know, I've talked about this neighborhood a number of times, and I got to tell you something. It's absolutely fantastic. The people are amazing, and it's such a wonderful little cluster of homes that just seems like it's magic. It's a beautiful morning, and our electricians are hard at work. We have Cal in the background, and he's continuing to dig the ditch for the gas line that's going to go into that corner of the shed, and it's going to be connected to our generator. And also, speaking of generators, JD is in the foreground. He's putting together a 4x4 pressure treated plate that the generator is going to sit on. So we're making progress.
All right, so this is going to be the frame that we're using for the generator. Ultimately, it's a 4x4 frame all the way around. It's got some weed lining on the bottom to help prevent weeds from getting up underneath it. Once we get it set into place, we'll line the rest of it with some pea gravel, and then we'll put the generator in place and then hook everything up after we're all set.
Well, this is definitely an Indian summer day. There's no question about it. I think we had a high today of about 72, 73, and the air is just wonderful. It reminds me when I was a kid and we used to roll around in the leaves in the front yard, and just the smell of those leaves was just so inviting, so wonderful. And that's what I'm smelling right now. So folks, hope that you are enjoying your day, and I hope that you're enjoying our shows, and I hope that you subscribe and you share, because we would love to have you continue to come along with us as we discover, if you will, all the new things that are part of our 1905 cottage.
All right, so the reason why we have our ditch here is so that we can bury our gas line and our electrical lines safely. 18 inches below grade is the minimum depth to keep things safe. We're going a little bit further. We're at 2 feet. It's because of the size of piping we're using. And then we're also running an extra electrical line because we've got one going to our generator and we have one going to the shed here. We want to make sure that there's no possibility of anybody, obstructing the pipeline for these 3 items.
While that's happening, I'm sanding down the interior door, which is for the laundry room behind me, and this is the inside of the door. And it has decades of varnish on it that I want to get off, and eventually I was going to get to a point where it's nice and smooth, and we're going to paint it the color of the laundry room, which is a kind of a green gray that Barb picked out. It's a lovely color. I love it. It's a very sunny room, and this is just going to be pretty styling. Well, this is the weathered side of the door, and you can definitely see the difference. It's dramatic. It's much darker than the interior side, and of course it's the result of just being exposed to the weather, the 4 seasons, and the sun really does beat on this this door from this direction. Also, it's just the dirt and grime and people touching it and so on and so forth. So I'm going to spend a lot more time on this, but I just want to let you know that this is the result of lots of years of use. And you know what? It's a cottage. It's a 1905 door in a 1905 cottage. So stay with us, because I think you're going to really be amazed as to how this thing turns out. When the electricians were digging a ditch from the side of the house to the shed in order to put the underground piping, if you will, for the new generator, they discovered that there were actually 2 foundations down there. One was a relatively new foundation, which we knew was part of the laundry room, which was a new addition within probably 30, 40 years. But there was a much, much older foundation and much deeper. And that foundation, no one knows what it was. My guess is that it probably was an old cistern, but who would know? I've asked a number of people, they haven't the foggiest idea. But that's just part of the love affair. That's the mystery that we absolutely adore. Anyway, stay with us, folks. We hope that you share, and we hope that you subscribe, and you hope that you like what we're doing, because we love it. What we have discovered is there is another foundation. That's the foundation right there for the laundry room, which is a relatively new addition, maybe 30, 40 years old. But this is a far older foundation and a much larger one. So what's it doing here? The thought is that at one point there may have been a little shed here, obviously some sort of other building here, we don't know. And to add to that puzzle are these stones right here. They're actually Medina stones, and they come from Medina. And you can tell they're kind of rectangular in shape, and they're used for roadways, driveways, sidewalks, house foundations, all kinds of things. And there's lots of them. They found just this pile in this little trench, and they think there's far more in this whole area here. So what are they doing here? These are the mysteries that you try to solve when you're dealing with an old house. As with the history of our 1905 cottage, this wonderful oak cabinet has tremendous significance to us. The wood used to build it was actually shipped by canal boat down the Erie Canal, and it was delivered to an address in Rochester, New York at 178 West Main Street Rear Alley. That was the address. And it was a two-story brick building where they made horse-drawn wagons. The second level of that building was the workshop, and that's where they made all the wooden pieces. And this was essentially the men's locker. So they would come in their street clothes and change into their work clothes. Now, if you stick your nose inside, you can actually smell the scent of that workshop. Well over 125 years ago, and it's still there. Now, my father was born in 1905, oddly enough, and he immigrated to the United States in 1928. One of the first jobs he had was working as a blacksmith for that wagon works. It was called Rochester Wagon Works. And through the years, this piece stayed with us, stayed in the family, and now Barb and I are so proud that we own it. So this is by far a wonderful heirloom. So, you know what? History is wonderful, and we love old things, and we love our 1905 cottage. I'm here with Bob Bassage. He's an expert window and door installer, and he's been putting in our new slider. And I got to tell you something, we're very excited to actually see this happen because it's been a long time in the waiting. So Bob, tell us what the actual steps are involved in doing this.
First step, Rob, is to remove the interior and exterior casings on the door and kind of get a feel for what we're after to create a rough opening to accept your new door. I know there's going to be some hurdles as far as possibly some weather damage to the rough opening of the door, but once we get past that step, then the next step will be to actually get the opening prep to accept your new door. So,
how bad was the old door that was in here, or currently in here?
Well, it's pretty tough shape.
You can be kind.
Pretty tough shape. No, you were definitely due for a new door here. I mean, there's no saving what's here. I'd love to put it back in for you and play that, but
one down, one to go, Bob. I think the rollers are probably all rusted.
rotted right up into the bottom of the door. I can feel them.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, it's back out.
And there goes the jam.
That's fabulous.
Such as it is. Yep.
Part of the gasket.
Oh yeah.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
It's leaked for so long. See how it's all rotted out right there?
Yep.
Just held water, and now we're cooking with gas.
Well, that plate looks okay though.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's not level. You will see shortly.
What do you think? Yeah.
Maybe we can find this wallpaper
I
again.
kind of like that old wallpaper up there. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Do you know how much wallpaper costs now?
No, because I will refuse to use it.
Oh, I like it a little bit.
Very expensive.
It used to be like $20 a roll. Now it's like they're selling it per square foot.
All right. What we got to do is frame the opening in to accept a new door. Make sure it's structurally sound enough to, I'm not going to put a $2,000 door in a 20-cent opening. Oh, she's so stinking close. So close.
Nice, nice.
Right after my Lori said you needed me.
Yeah?
Yeah. I like that. Square edge on it.
No.
Everything is beveled.
It's beautiful.
Here it's beautiful.
That's a plum. It's going to be awesome. Over just a nipper. Okay.
You happy, Bob?
Oh, happy.
Yeah.
Shout hooray.
So this is the rigid sea snake that our plumber Scott is using to determine if we have any laterals coming off our clean out that goes from our house to the road. And then this is the recording apparatus that literally records what is seen as it goes down through the pipe. So while Scott is watching this on a monitor, the actual inside of the pipe, Marvin, his assistant, is actually marking the direction, and that's what you see on these multicolored red and yellow and white marks. The orange line is where our proposed 20 by 20 garage would start approximately. That cross section right there is where the 20 by 20 garage would start at its most southern point. The distance between that and the waistline is about a little over 3 feet, but it would go north, and the waistline to the left, that white line widens out to about 4 feet, and this is approximately where the garage would end, but the waistline continues in this direction and it widens out more towards the west, if you will, and then that's where it actually connects to the main sewer line. Coming up in episode 5, we'll continue to renovate that tiny little bathroom off the kitchen. And while we're in the kitchen, Barb and I are going to be restoring the original 1905 cupboards. And while we're there as well, new flooring is going to be put down. We're going to rip up the old flooring and put a spectacular new one in. All that plus much more is coming your way. So do me a favor, don't forget to subscribe and share and stay with us.